Hello guys, my name is Clay, and in today's video we're going to be going over everything you need to know about pages and blocks within Fina. Pages and blocks are probably our most powerful concept within the tool, as they allow you to completely customize the reporting aspect of your finances and get novel insights out of your financial data. So this is what really sets our tool apart. So we're going to go over a ton of in-depth guides and details on how to actually create a page from scratch and how to add blocks to that page so that you can, again, customize your reporting and or share those pages with other people so that they can track their finances how you track yours. So there's two main concepts within Fina. I always like to reiterate this, but there's profiles and there's pages. Profiles are where you actually connect all of your live financial accounts. So within Fina, you can add all different types of accounts from your actual live institutions. You can add credit card accounts, bank accounts, loan accounts, investment accounts, things of that nature. You can customize your entire set of categories so that you can track your finances, again, in ways that make sense to you. And then you can come in here and you can categorize all your transactions to make sure that all of your data is being bucketed properly and that you have live, clean data within Fina that is officially in the categories that you want them to be in. So you can automate this whole process with rules. But again, that's not the purpose of today's video. Let's just go ahead and assume you've already connected all your accounts, you've already cleaned all your data, and now you're ready to create some reporting so that you can get valuable insights out of it. So that's where our pages come into play. Pages inside of Fina operate like a reporting structure. Our pages are very similar to a Word doc, meaning you can add text to these pages, you can type on them freely, but when you add these blocks to your page, these blocks are financial tracking scenarios that are pulling from that live clean data. So as an example here, we have one made by one of our creators, Corey. This is kind of like a dashboard that she uses. She likes to see her total expenses, total rent and bills, total food, expense by category broken down year to date, previous month, average monthly expenses, trends, net worth, emergency funds. People create all sorts of different scenarios in here that they use to track their finances. And that's what makes this tool powerful, is that you can customize it to your liking. So again, this is just Corey's example. We have a bunch of other scenarios that you can imagine in here, and I have a bunch of example templates within this demo account. So just to click through a few. But today we're going to be showing you how to create one of these pages completely from scratch and how to understand how these blocks actually work. So if I go and I click add a new page, we have two options. I can start from a template or I can start completely from scratch. For a lot of people, it's scary to start from scratch, but that's the purpose of today's video. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do. But for many of you out there, you can definitely start from a template and or maybe start from a template and customize some of those blocks to your liking to make it more what is valuable to you. So again, if you just click on the little settings icon here, you can actually see the settings that are being comprised within every single block, and you can change some of these things to tweak a template to help it fit more your use case. Today, we're gonna add a page totally from scratch, and we're gonna walk through all the core concepts. So get ready, buckle up, we're gonna dive in here. So again, I click the little plus button, I'm gonna add a page from scratch. We'll go ahead and call this, actually let's call it Clay's dashboard for today. So again, on these blank pages, I can type on these, I can add notes to these. Many people put little notes like maybe their taxable events for the year, or maybe they want to title out different sections. So maybe I want a section for cash flow today, and I want to highlight this, and I can make the text a little bit bigger. So I want a line for cash flow, or maybe I want to break out my page into different sections, or just keep notes on different financial concepts I'm learning, or maybe I'm gonna share this with a spouse or a friend or a financial advisor, and I want them to see some things that I'm thinking about. I can keep all those notes and things in one spot, but the really powerful part is when you type the slash key, you can add these blocks to your page. And again, these blocks are financial tracking scenarios that are gonna pull from that live clean data from your different profiles. So I have three different ways that I can actually create a block from scratch. So first is I can ask Fina AI. I can ask an AI question. I could say something like, how much money have I spent on groceries this year? What is my average monthly expenses? How much did I spend last month? In this case, we're not going to go ahead and do that. We're going to show you guys how to actually create these blocks yourself, but that always is an option there if you need some extra help. But yeah, we have two main options. We have generic blocks, which means you're going to create these blocks totally from scratch. We have single number values, list views, pie charts, bar charts. And again, this is a flow for starting totally from scratch and creating those different blocks. And then we also have scenario-based blocks. These are pre-created scenarios within Fina. They're going to pull from that live clean data and make things a little bit easier on you guys. So those are the two main types of blocks. I'm going to quickly walk you guys through the settings of a block before we dive into actually how to create one from scratch. So I'm actually going to select the scenario block called total expenses. As you guys can see here, it's pulling in the number of my total expenses here. And actually, if I click on the number itself, I can see what transactions are being pulled in here and computing this particular block. So that's a really cool feature, but I'm gonna go through and show you guys how this block was created and show you all the settings of a block before we actually dive into creating one on your own. So when we first click this block, we can click edit. That'll open up this little settings panel that you guys are seeing on the right side. I'll go ahead and open that for you. You'll see here that in the top right, this is actually showing you the type of block. So right now we have a single value block, and I can swap between some different settings for different charts. So if you had like a bar chart, you could switch between a bar chart and a line chart. In this case, we have a single value, so you can swap between text and a gauge. But it's going to keep it contained within that particular data type. So for example, a pie chart is going to stick within things that are related to the pie chart. A single value only has these two options. Bar chart will have bar chart and line chart. So that is what this first little setting is actually showing you that type of block. And then we have two main kind of setting structure. So we have the data side of things. This is actually what's being computed for the number or the metric that you're seeing here inside the block. And then we have the display side of things, which is things like the title, hiding the amount if we wanted to, and or changing the size of this block in this case. So we're going to walk you through all the data here quickly and what all of these things mean, as this is the most important part before we actually walk through customizing a block from scratch. So as you can see here, the very first main setting is your account selection. So you're actually able to pull in data from multiple profiles within Fina into a single block or onto a single page. So in this case, it's actually pulling the total expenses across all my personal accounts and my business accounts, because I have a personal profile and a business profile here in this demo account. Both of these other profiles don't have any accounts linked up. That's why you're not seeing them automatically added here. But in this case, I don't want to see my business, my business expenses in this particular block. So, maybe this dashboard for me is going to be all about my personal finances, and I'm going to deselect that business profile. So if I come down here, the next setting that you guys will notice is you'll see the date range. So the date range is just pulling in total expenses for the current month in this case. Maybe I wanted to click on this and change the date range to be the current year. I want to know how much money I've spent across my personal accounts for this current year to date. So from January 1st until today, which is October 22nd. The next thing is very important. This is the metrics. So this is what's actually the filters on your live data that's pulling in and actually computing this particular metric that you're seeing here. I'll go a little bit more in depth into metrics and how these work as we customize the block. But for now, that's the setting section for metrics. And then the last setting section that you'll notice here is budget and or threshold. This just means you can add a budget or a threshold to this. So, maybe I wanted to put $60,000 here, and that's the threshold that I don't want to spend, or the budget that I don't want to spend over for the year. The reason we call it budget or threshold is a threshold could be a goal. So, maybe you're trying to save a certain amount of money in an account. A budget's usually something that you're trying to set an upper limit on. So that's how that works. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. But a couple other quick things just about how to, use these blocks or move these around on a page. I can actually click Command Copy and Command Paste, and I can duplicate that block very easily. I can just grab this little icon right here, and I can bring this block up. Maybe I want to put it side by side with this block. And, instead of total expenses for this, let's go ahead and we'll do, total income. I'll change the title here. I'm just quickly showing you guys how you can actually, drag some of these blocks around and quickly create a dashboard that makes sense for you. So this last block, total income, instead, maybe I want to have the area be income and expenses, and I want the total net cash flow in this case. So voila, I created a line that's for my cash flow here, and now you can see total expenses, total income, and total net cash flow for the current year to date across all these. If I wanted to change the date range on these, I obviously could. I could duplicate this. I could, copy and paste this entire page. But we'll get into some of those concepts a little bit later. Right now, we're going to focus on creating more of these blocks and actually how to create these blocks from scratch. So again, I just showed you an example of creating a scenario-based block. There's a bunch of scenarios that are pre-created in here that you could select at any point in time. Maybe you wanted to see something like average monthly expenses. Some of these blocks, you'll notice, don't have metrics that you can customize. That's because Fina has done a custom calculation itself within the block. But if we've not done that custom calculation, you can fully customize the metric. So just to point out, some blocks are special and they have kind of pre-created calculations that are being done on the back end. For example, another one that's like that is our financial freedom calculation. This block's going to look different than some of these other blocks, and you're able to do some more unique things with them. So there are some special blocks that are like that, but for the most part, all these blocks are going to be fully customizable and tailored to your individual finances. So again, let's go ahead and start with something simple. We'll start with a single number value here. So this single value, if I click on that generic block, again, it's not going to show you any data at first because this single value doesn't have any metrics added. So very first, what is a metric? Inside Fina, a metric is the word that we use to describe what type of data or information we are trying to display inside of this block. So again, this one we titled total expenses. The metric in here would be basically a filter on your live data that's being filtered to show you the total expenses across those different accounts. So that's in general what a metric is. Inside of Fina, we have a few different types of metrics that you can add. And also just to note, in the future, there might be the ability to add multiple metrics to a block at the same time. So right now, in this case, we're going to have these single metrics that you're able to add, and we'll have multiple types. So we have a basic metric, and then we have a formula metric. A basic metric just means it's pulling from your live financial data, and you're able to put some filters on it. A formula metric is going to have multiple variables that you're trying to compose together, adding, subtracting, dividing, multiplying, multiple different aspects so that you can get a more complicated block or number out of it. So in this case, I'm just going to show you real quick a basic metric. When you're creating a metric, there is a few things to understand. So very first, there's a data type and then there's an aggregation method. So the data type in this case is pulling from our transactional data. So if you go to your profile and you go look at your transactions, it's going to actually be able to pull some different elements of your transactions, and you'll be able to aggregate those a specific way. So the most common case is you want to see your total transaction amount. So in this case, the aggregation method is total amount, but you could see your average amount, your lowest amount, your largest amount, or even a total count of your transactions if you were trying to see something like that. But basically, we have the data type and the aggregation method. The only other data type we have right now is your account related data. This means mainly your account balance. So we separate those two things because they're just different concepts. And basically, if I'm trying to pull transactional related information, for example, if I wanted to see the total transaction amount where my merchant was XYZ, or the category is a combination of categories, that's going to be for this use case. And then if I'm trying to see the total sum of all my credit card balances, the total latest amount, and I wanted to filter just by credit card balances, I could do that, for example, and that's going to be your account related data. So we're not going to do that right this second, but basically those are the differences in the data types and the aggregation methods. Again, the most common and by default is going to be your total transaction amount. And once you have this set up, you can add filters. So the filters are really important because, again, on your data, I can go in here and I could click on category. And let's say I wanted to add a filter where the category is subscriptions. So I'm pulling in the total transaction amount where the category is subscriptions. And let's go ahead and deselect the business accounts for this case. So right now, you guys are seeing a block that shows the current transaction amount for the category subscriptions in the current month for just my personal accounts. So that's pretty cool. I was able to get this subscription spending for the current month. Spend current month pretty quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this block so I can see the full title. It's $97. I can also click on that $97 and see what amount of money is being spent here on this particular demo account. So it's pretty awesome because I just created that totally from scratch. That's a novel metric that you won't be able to see in a lot of other tools. And maybe I wanted to add a budget or a threshold to this, and I wanted to say like, all right, this month I don't want to spend more than $150 on my subscription spending. So I'm able to track this in real time and see that I've spent 64% of my budget this month for subscriptions. So that's a really quick and easy way to create a block completely from scratch. And now I'm going to walk you through a little bit more complicated of a block using the formula. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and let's delete this block. I don't need to see that one for now. We're going to go ahead and create another one. We'll do another single number value in this case, just to keep things simple for the time being. And then I'll show you guys after we create this variable or this formula based metric. I'll walk you through how to actually go ahead and create a full page and create some different blocks out of it. So bear with me. This is the last main concept, and it is the formula metric. So again, I created this single number value block completely from scratch. It says I need to add metrics. I'm like, okay. I come in here, I look, and I'm like, I can add a basic metric or a formula metric. We're going to do the formula metric on this one, and it's going to look a little bit different here. So I can actually enter my formula here at the top line. I can add variables now. So a variable is the smallest unit of measure within Fina. It describes specific parts of a formula within the formula metric. And so you can add, multiply, divide, do basic stuff that you could do in Excel. Think about these like you're multiplying two cells together. Those cells in this case are your variables. So I'm going to add a new variable here. Similar to before, we have the basic metric that you can add, meaning it's going to pull from your live data, or you're able to add a constant variable, which is just, think about that like a number or a percentage or something of that nature. So right now I'm going to click on basic metric variable. So here again, we can see the data type and the aggregation method. So we have total transaction amount. Again, that's the most common. I can name this if I want as well. So let's call this subscription spend. So we'll do total transaction amount where the category is subscription. And again, we're pulling that for the current month. Let's go ahead and actually pull this for the previous month. Right now it's showing 0 because we don't have any formula here. So we actually do need to add a formula in order for this to work. So I can also click this little eye icon to display that within the block if I wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and I'm displaying it within the block. So actually let me go ahead and expand the display here. We'll go ahead and make it the total amount. Okay, for this block, let's add a new variable, and now this new variable will do a constant variable. So this will just be a number, and we'll do 4. So we're going to do 4 months in this case. So let me put that, I'm going to call it 4 months or months. Okay, so now we have 2 variables showing. We have subscription spend and we have months. So we have 4 months and we have total transaction amount as subscription spend. So we're just going to do A times B. So we want to know our subscription spend for 4 months, and the subscription spend number is pulling from the previous month. So I'm actually being able to compute my total subscription spend for the previous month, and then I'm taking that number and multiplying it by 4 here. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect the business accounts again because we want this to just be for personal. And AI is actually helping to name this block for me, but in this case I'm going to say this is a subscription spend predictor, and it's actually a quarterly predictor because we're multiplying it by 4 months. Subscription spend quarterly predictor. So just like that, I was able to take my subscription spend from the previous month and multiply that by 4 to give me an estimated amount that I may spend over the next quarter on my subscriptions based on the previous quarter. So now I can see that, okay, maybe I'm going to spend $306 across the next 4 months on my subscriptions. And maybe I wanted to add a budget to that, and I could say, all right, I don't want to go over $400 over that, that time period. But in this case, a budget or threshold probably doesn't make that much sense. So we're just going to leave it at this. We'll call that our subscription spend quarterly predictor that's being pulled from our live data. So again, that's a pretty complicated example, but I did want to show just a quick use case on how formula metrics work, and that you can do a little bit more complicated things within here using your live data as well as constant variables. So that is how both of the metrics work inside of Fina. In the future, again, there could be multiple metrics that you'll have within a particular block. You might be able to have some additional features like metric management, or being able to combine different metrics together. That'll be stuff for a future video, and we'll actually have a video entirely on formulas. So if this is advanced for you, we'll go over that in a different video. But now that you understand how these basic concepts work, I'm going to quickly go ahead and build out a page using some of the different blocks, scenario blocks, and creating blocks from scratch. I'll walk you through how I'm doing it verbally, and then I'll show you how to share one of these pages with other people. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to delete that block. That block's not super useful in this case. But right now we have this cash flow line. Let's go ahead and add some more blocks to make this this page a little bit more interesting. Let's do a example of a time series bar chart. So again, we're going to create this one totally from scratch, and we'll keep on the theme of subscriptions because that's what we've been on. So I'm going to do a basic metric here. I'm going to add a filter where the category is subscriptions in this case. And yeah, I like it for the current year, and I like it to be broken down how it is. Actually, maybe I want to know how much money I've spent on subscriptions, and let's do bills and utilities. Let's do bills and utilities and subscriptions. So right now it's showing both of those together. I'd rather see them broken down by category. So I'd rather see them side by side instead of all in one. And let's go ahead and, yeah, I like it month over month. And let's go ahead and add a target as well. Hold on real quick. I'm going to deselect the business accounts again. Let's add a budget or a threshold. It looks like my subscription spend in January was much higher than the other months. Let's go ahead and say that a normal budget might be, let's call it $200, negative $200. There we go. So $200. Just so you know, if you click this button, you can change the sign of the actual budget or threshold. So in some cases, you might have a positive threshold if you're trying to, save up for a specific goal or something of that nature. So you can change the sign of this. In this case, we need to make it, the proper value here to show the target. In this case, it's negative. So let's go ahead and change the title. This title looks ridiculous. So this is bills and subscription spend trend. And maybe I want to make this, maybe I want to make it the full width. Okay, so now we have a bills and subscription trend. And like I said, I like to see this in a bar chart, but you could switch this to a line chart if you wanted to and see those things split this way. I think bar chart looks better for this purpose, so we're going to go ahead and keep it as that. The next thing, let's go ahead and add a few more blocks here. Maybe I want to add, let's do some scenario-based blocks. We've showed you how to create some from scratch now. Let's do a category list with a budget. Okay, so this one's already kind of helping me create it from scratch. I'm going to limit the height so it's a little bit better looking. Go back over here. This is showing the date range for the previous month, both personal and business. Let's deselect business here. And let's go ahead and I'd rather do this budget. Let's do a yearly budget. I want to see this for the current year. It's showing me both my income categories and my expense categories. I just want to see it for my expenses. Okay, so here's all my expenses in a list with a budget item attached to them. And what else? Let's see here. Oops. Okay. And let's remove any of the categories without data. So meaning any that I haven't spent money on in those categories, I'll go ahead and remove those. And then let's sort these by value. yeah, let's sort these by value ascending here. So yeah, I want the most amount of money I've spent first. This is the current year to date spending with budget. Okay, now I could go ahead and see how much money I've spent on all my categories in the current year to date, 54,000 in total, and I can add budgets to them. So, you know, maybe for rent, I don't want to spend over, I don't know, $18,000. Maybe for groceries, I don't want to spend over $10,000. And I could just go down the list here and add a bunch of these budgets for my actual yearly budgets. Now, the cool part about this is, let's say I really liked how I created this block, and maybe I wanted to do monthly budgets as well. I could just copy paste this block. I'm gonna go ahead and change the date range from current year to previous month, so I can see how much money I spent on the previous month. And it automatically helped compute those budgets for me as well, which is really nice. It just divided those numbers by 12. But you know, maybe for monthly, I'd rather actually change this budget, and I want to do, you know, I'm allowed to spend $1,500 on rent each month, and I'm allowed to spend, that's a lot for groceries, but let's say $1,000 on groceries for this month. Okay, so I've now created 2 different blocks. This is this one's actually current month to date, a spending trend, and voila, I've created some different budgets. I've created bills and subscription trend. Let's do one more block just to show you guys a different example that's not related to your transactions. We'll do one that is specifically around account balances, or yeah, let's see here. Here's a block that's just showing all my different account balances. Maybe this one's not as interesting. I can already see my account balances in some different areas. Let's do value ascending, value descending. Actually, let's delete this. Let's go ahead and do a block. I just want to know my credit card balances. So let's create a single value, single number value. I'm going to add a metric to this. We'll do a basic metric. We will add a basic metric where the actual data type is not transaction. We're going to make it account. It's going to be total latest balance for your accounts. So this is summing up all my accounts in this case, but we're going to do the account type is credit. So we're filtering for the account type to be credit. Let's deselect our business accounts, and current month is fine. So now this block is actually showing me my total credit card balances across all my credit cards currently. So let's do credit card balance outstanding. So this one's interesting to me because, yeah, I can keep track of, you know, how much money I have on all my credit cards at the current time without having to log into all my different bank accounts. I like that one. And then, yeah, maybe that's good. I'll see if there's any other interesting ones I could add. Let me just see some basic scenarios. Emergency fund, do financial freedom block. We'll add those next to each other. These are just estimates based on my actual monthly spending. These are already pre-created for me. And voila, now you have a page that shows your total expenses, total income, net cash flow, specific metrics that you want to track, some budgeting items, outstanding credit card balances, emergency funds, and just like that, this is all being pulled from your live clean data within Fina. I can go ahead and share this page a few different ways. I can actually add somebody specific to this page, like again, a spouse or a financial advisor, or I could actually make this page public. I could fake the numbers or hide the numbers, or if I'm feeling up to it, I can be transparent and share the full view with people if I would like. But a lot of people that are sharing these as templates with others usually fake the numbers, and they can go ahead and copy the link. They can save this, and then very easily they can share this link with other people, and others can actually adopt the exact same way that they're tracking their finances. So in just a few seconds, you're able to share your methodology with someone else, and they can track the same way. That allows people to hold each other accountable and do a bunch of other really cool stuff. So hopefully you guys have gotten a lot out of this tutorial video. This is a little bit long, but we'll leave it all in there for you, and we'll do some more tutorials that are in depth on specific parts like formulas in the future. But that's how blocks and pages work. That's how you can create a page completely from scratch, make it look better, add some budgeting, add some unique tracking scenarios, and ultimately share that with others. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.